It's Friday. What's up, Ron? How are you, sir?
Good, David. How are you?
Doing well. Usually we go live on Thursday, but we pushed it back a day because you are out gallivanting
See,
at sea. There you go. Well, it's Friday. It's the Little Nessie Happy Hour or Happy Hour podcast. Ron and I are going to chat for about an hour, and we've got a handful of great topics. But fun fact, I was on a boat with Ron last week. The two of us, along with our lovely wives, sailed the seas for 7 days, and it was a great time. And my wife still has her sea legs, or doesn't have her sea legs, still has her sea legs because she's can barely stand up. It's been a week now, but yeah. You don't have a problem with
it's a
that,
great.
Ron?
No, I don't. I don't have a problem.
Got a problem with your internet connection, though, evidently. Well, hopefully he'll be back. We've been on for about an hour now, just chatting and catching up. But
This
Ron's
is
frozen, looks like, and
the
kind of
first issue that we've had with internet in the whole call.
yeah, we've been on for like 45 minutes. First time he's frozen, so
Yep.
we'll wait for him to get back. I'm sure he'll kick himself off and come right back on. But we have
Yep.
some fun topics today. I don't think we're gonna be talking about what happened last week because what stays on the boat or what happens on the boat stays on the boat.
I mean, I could
No,
talk
we had
about
a
the
great
thing that you
time.
told me about what happened on the boat. I'll dish
What was
out
the
the dirty
highlight?
laundry. Uh,
Some at some point during the show.
at some point during the show.
Well, Ron's back. Hey, Ron.
Hey, we were on for an hour with no problems, and sure enough, man, we get on and I lose Starlink.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it may not be the last, but we'll keep pushing on. But we got some fun topics, and let's get to them. Ron spends he spends hours throughout the week coming up with great topics. So we've got three main topics. I think most of them are mortgage or real estate related, and then we've got a handful of rapid fire topics. No from the gut this week. But our first main topic, Ron.
Yeah, this is a really interesting topic. It has to do with buyers' satisfaction and their lack of understanding, and then the origins of their frustration. And we have a bunch of data on this. That'll be a great topic.
And next.
Love this. We're going to give a little definition of expectations versus reality, and where Gen Zs are, which will be shocking if you haven't seen it. Interesting. We're going to talk about how 1 in 3 young adults live at home, and that will be a lively topic. Quick though.
Will. And then we've got, I believe, 3 rapid fire topics. So usually we hit the hour mark. I think we might cut it short this week because I don't have a from the gut section. It's been a while since I haven't had a from the gut.
They're the best section, Dave. And we have a lot of topics that we can get through fast, so that's great before we lose connection.
Yeah, and you've got stuff to get to. You got people to go meet, drinks to be drank, and the pool to be swim in. So it'll free you up to go do your thing.
Or I got to pack.
Yeah. All right, let's get into our first topic, and we are talking about data, housing, education.
Yeah, and here's what this topic had to do. It had to say that how many buyers were unhappy that they didn't have a better understanding of the process. And part of that was they were very surprised at what their closing costs were going to be, not only their closing costs, but their post closing costs, and how that surprise led to dissatisfaction and regret. And so that's the data we want to share. So let's get to the first slide.
Gosh, I remember the first time I bought a house. I was blind. It it was probably just as much my fault as anyone else. But I remember the first time I bought a house, and all kinds of things slapped me in the face when I showed up to the closing table. I was like, "What? This and that?" Yeah, I was not educated, so I can speak from experience there. But Ron, go for it.
You know what's really interesting, David, and thinking of researching this topic and thinking about it, what I've concluded is not that mortgage and real estate professionals aren't trying to educate their customers, their clients. It's that a home buyer, especially a first-time home buyer, is facing so much new stuff, so much new jargon, and thousands of things are coming at them. They don't know what to consume and to hold on to. And so they, even though they might have been told something 6 times, they might have signed, disclosures 10 times. They get to the closing table, and they go, "What? Huh? What?" So here's it is.
Yeah,
So
it's
this is yep.
I was just gonna say it makes me think of I've never built a house myself, but I've heard people say the amount of decisions that you have to make when you're building a house at like a million or something. I don't remember the number. It was extravagant, but when you're building your own house and the amount of decisions that you need to make from the color of the tile to the direction of the tile to the you name it, colors and types of materials, and it makes me think about the mortgage process as well. How many decisions do you need to make, and how much do you need to understand to fully show up and not have any surprises? I'm sure it's not as many, but it's probably it's similar.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So here's the to pre-frame this. Something like 75% of home buyers go into or 73% go into the transaction feeling confident that they have all the information they need, but then only 19% think they actually conclude the transaction with the information they needed. It's a huge
Wow.
gap. And this first graph right here, there's some legitimate stuff, and there's completely false stuff. And I'm going to point out the false stuff because it's going to be important when we get to expectations. But so one of the things that home buyers are surprised about is how much it costs to actually get the home ready to move in, whether it's repairs or new carpet or whatever it is. On average, it costs about $15,000, and that I can definitely understand that maybe as a real estate agent or a loan officer, we may not go through those costs with the home buyer like we should. Like, hey, you're going to need some money. You're going to want to, change shag carpet. You're going to want to, get that, thing fixed, or you're going to want to change the colors of the drapes. And so that's a very surprising point for them. This second one, this concession to the sellers, let me just tell you, it's straight on a bogus number. And I'm saying that because it's going to set us up for false expectations. But what this says, a concession to the seller on this survey included paying over asking price. That's not a concession. That's a
Mm,
market demand. Like, you don't have to
yeah.
concede to that. It's what the value of the property was. So that's completely a misconception. Even though borrowers repeatedly sign good faith estimates and closing cost estimates, they're constantly surprised by closing costs and don't understand what they are. And then I don't know how anybody can be surprised by moving costs, but this is what the base is that they came up with. It costs about $31,000 to move the home, other than your purchase price. The next slide adds on commissions, which hardly any buyers pay, so I'm not certain why it's putting it on here. But the buyer's commission, agent's commission, $15,000 gets it to be $46,000. So those are the expenses. Now, what we're going to see next, and David, you can either comment now or you can get into the expenses, where borrowers or buyers got off the rails on their expectations, right? Um, so here's like, okay, they're most surprised by repairs, makes sense. I'm not sure they can be surprised by closing costs or property taxes or even moving costs or homeowners insurance. Like, that just tells me, because it's not like they're not exposed to it through the transaction. It just tells me that they're overwhelmed in the transaction and can't focus on these things until they actually have to write a check. And so if I was a mortgage or real estate professional, I'd go, how can I actually get their attention on these things? How can, only so that I have more satisfied clients that doesn't feel like they're surprised. David, what do you think about that?
I how I I assume this data is fairly new, right? It's not old data.
Yes. No, recent.
So I wouldn't be surprised with the closing costs had it not been for what was the legislation?
A TRID?
Back in like 2050. TRID,
Yeah,
yeah,
Frank,
with
Frank
the
Dodd.
LE and the CD.
Yeah,
Yeah, so prior
2011.
to that, I think yeah, I think was it 2011? No,
Yes.
it was 2000. 14.
Tread? Let's
Yeah.
table that for me now.
Okay. Oh, I think I might. I'm pretty sure I'm right. And if I am right over Ron Stowers, this is gonna be. I want a medal for this. McKenna, make sure I get like a badge or a sticker or something because I think I'm right. Anyway,
By the way,
let's
this
table it.
survey was
But
taken,
before
David. The survey was taken in January.
Okay. So yeah, I'm surprised that closing costs is still quite as high now with LE and CD, especially the LE, because that was a big thing for me. But with the LE now, I don't know how that many people can be so surprised with closing costs. I'm surprised that repairs and renovations are as high as they are actually.
By the way, the tread
But
rule went into
those are my
effect
thoughts.
on. Hey, David, the tread rule went into effect in 2015.
So I think I said 13 or 14.
You said 14. You're right. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, McKenna, get me a badge, get me a star.
Yeah,
Because I know
you'll
what
get it
year I
back.
came into the mortgage industry, and it was 2011. Now, I remember it being a few years into that. I remember shooting videos specifically for Trid, so I've got that timestamp in my head. So,
Perfect. All right, so let's go to the next thing because this is the distressing things. This next slide, which you guys can't read, but we'll get it to you. It's what regrets do you have about your home buying purchase? Like what regrets do you have about your experience? And it's financial regrets. And the first line here is, I should have negotiated more. That is so that presupposes that more negotiation would have got you the price you wanted, right? Which I guess what I'm saying, that's like a false regret. It's like, I wish the seller would have sold me the house for less money. Yeah, of course you do. Who doesn't? Like that doesn't seem like a legitimate regret, right? Um, or I underestimated my post-purchase expenses. Now that is on their professional advisors. We need to help them with that. I exceeded my budget. What was your budget realistic? You know what I mean? Because nobody's forcing you to exceed your budget, right? I paid too much for my home. Holy smokes! Okay, I mean these are regrets, but
is that the same
I
thing?
get, yeah, but they're
No.
We lost him again.
Um, yeah, he'll be back in 30 seconds. Closing costs were too high. I should have waited until the interest rates went down, and I should have saved more for my down payment. McKenna, which of these kind of line up with where you're at? Well, you never
Um,
bought one. I was gonna actually bring you into it on the second slide. Go back to the second slide.
yes.
Let's see.
Second slide.
Yeah, repairs. You said you were surprised when you saw this. Why?
I was just surprised by how much it costs to buy a home. Not like the price of
So it wasn't any one of
homes.
these.
It wasn't necessarily any one, it was just the main sum of everything that shocked me.
Yeah. Not anyone in particular, because I'm surprised that the repairs and renovations are as high as it is. In comparison to the others.
I'm not
Hey, Ron, you're back.
super surprised by that. I think also because I watch a lot of repair and renovation videos on like TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that. So that's not super surprising to me that that would be one of the most expensive. But either way, just the cost of purchasing and moving into a home is insane.
You know what I'm most shocked by? Your
what?
broad range of videos that you watch on TikTok. And that those are and those show up on your TikTok feed because you show me some of the videos on your TikTok, and that's what I'm most surprised by, that that's showing up on your feed.
I love it. I love watching especially kitchen renovations. Those are some of my favorite. Kitchen and bathroom. Those are the 2 that I will, like, watch the most, and I love them.
Yeah,
Right, right.
you also got to keep in mind that with affordability issues, people are trying to get the best deal they can on a home, and so they're probably buying homes at the lowest price possible
Mm,
that have some deferred maintenance. I mean, it's just a kind of a nature of the beast.
true,
We
true,
ready to
true.
go to the next one?
Ron, Yeah, we actually came back to the second slide or so. So we've already touched on the slide three ahead of this, two or three ahead of this. Do you want to go back to that one, McKenna?
Yes.
It was the one that people were most shocked by, and this is where you cut off, Ron.
Yeah, I was really eloquent about it too. It's too bad you guys missed it. No, I was going on a mini rant. So I was going on a mini rant. I figured you guys just cut me off. And the only thing I was saying is that surveys like this just show where we still have an opportunity to serve our clients better by helping them understand what's most important, getting them in position to be able to buy a home, getting them confident, and so then they don't have these type of regrets. We just have a little better
Right.
work. We got to work on how we're packaging all this a little bit, this information, because it's not that we're not giving them the information, but they're not receiving it in a digestible way, and so we're going to have to figure out a different way to get them the information. In my opinion.
Yeah. Is that the last slide?
Yeah. Well, there's one more, but I think we can jump to the next topic.
Okay. Next topic. We're talking about expectations. I forget what this one is. Oh, Gen Z. That's right.
Let's just go straight to the chart, because I don't know if you guys are going to find this as shocking as I do. And so this right here. So let's just look at the chart and then we'll go to the title. But there was a survey through different generations what financial success looks like for Americans, right? And so overall, for example, most Americans think if you're making about $270,000 a year, you're damn successful. And if you have a net worth of about $5 million, you're successful. Now, as you get older, that number gets smaller. But Gen Zs, they think the definition of success is making $600,000 a year and having $9.5 million in the bank, right? Now, conversely, a boomer says if you make $100,000 a year and got $1 million, you're successful. And the whole point is that Gen Z has this totally crazy outsized expectation, and that's where this happiness quotient comes from. Happiness equals reality minus expectations, right? And what's amazing is that, let's say with these different generations, let's say happiness is income, and then what's your income to reality, right? Like if I need to make 100,000 to be successful and I make 100,000, well then my happiness factor is high. But if I make 100,000 but I want to make 500,000, that's my expectations, my happiness factor is low, which is really interesting. Okay, before we go on, and then I'm gonna bring some other nuggets to this. What do you guys think? And McKenna, what do you think about this?
That is, to me, extremely surprising. That's definitely not what I think. That's definitely not the numbers that I would have in my head, but 9 million in the bank. I mean, hey, Gen Z is reaching for the stars, but oh my god. That's excessive. I don't want to get onto maybe I shouldn't. I am curious because
a generation rant.
No. More of a woman rant.
Oh, let's hear it.
So there's a specific line of thinking that I've been seeing a lot on the internet, and it's like the typical like Andrew Tate, high value male, like that kind of line of thinking, and the main kind of get up for that, and like what makes you a high I don't agree with any of this, but what makes you a high value male is that you have to, make over six figures, be financially successful, and like this, that, and the other. And it's very a lot of like this line of thinking is taken off, especially in young Gen Z men. So I wonder how much of that is playing into it.
Yeah, you bring
I'm
up a really
surprised.
good point.
I'm surprised that the difference between Gen X, then millennials, and then Gen Z, in the fact that millennials actually goes down, but then Gen Z just skyrockets back up. You know, the Gen Z being here and then millennials here, but then, that's surprising that there's such a drastic difference between those three.
Yeah. Hey, David, I'm gonna follow up on what McKenna said, because this is from the World Happiness Report. That's where this data comes from. And in that report, it noted that most of the world, right, that people's happiness has increased. The only areas of the world where happiness has decreased is in English speaking countries. And
Wow.
and so and the reason why is they blame it on social media. That the English speaking people in social media have all these absurd false expectations and stories and psychosis. Where like if you go to Japan, it's all happiness on social media. It's it's all abundance. And so in the four top English speaking countries, happiness has fallen. And they
Wow.
think it's all because of how people behave in those countries on social media.
Yeah. I that was going to be another point. I think it's 100% social media in the rise in overnight influencers, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I was also thinking about just kind of influencers and how you see how much money they have. I think like, Jake Paul or Mr. Beast. I mean, Mr. Beast is in a different kind of area than that, but like
Yeah.
these high
Category.
earn category, there we go. Just like high earning influencers where they have all of these homes and have all of this money and, they're doing social media and so it's accessible to everybody else. Anybody can do social media and make all this money, which isn't true. But I think that's my thinking of kind of where a lot of that might come from in Gen Z.
Yeah, the four countries that
100%.
are the
What's
unhappy.
which ones?
It is United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, where
Mm.
unhappiness has grown.
Not the UK?
Say that again.
No,
United States, Canada.
Canada,
Um,
Australia, and New Zealand is where unhappiness has grown.
Interesting. Well, not really
Yeah,
surprised. I'd be curious what yeah, because you would think UK would definitely be in there, but they're much smaller.
but
But
but they were
they're probably number
unhappy to begin
five.
with, David.
I was gonna make a dig
Just
because my
grumpy old
partner
people.
my partner is from the UK, and then I was like, maybe this isn't the place to do that because he's not here. So, but I'm glad you did it for me.
Okay, I
McKenna's
think
gonna
we got
pull
this.
this clip and send it to him.
I am.
Yeah, it's like, buddy, you expect $500,000 a year.
All right. Next topic. Young adults still living at home.
Yep, this is interesting, and I think we're going to pull up a chart for this. And so this came in Visual Capitalist. They showed that about roughly a third of adult children still live at home, and the chart's kind of illustrative because it shows, as we'd expect, that in high cost states like on the coast, kids live at home longer because they can't afford to buy a house, and on low cost states like the Midwest, also by the way, Midwest tends to be a little bit more individualistic. They tend to move out sooner. And so it's just kind of an interesting statistic.
So
First, does it shock you that one third of adult children live at home?
no, but let's just make sure we understand the map right. The dark red is the highest density of
Yes,
young adults living at home,
yes,
correct? And the light
yes.
is yeah, okay.
And so
One in
North
three
Dakota is
adults living at
12%.
home.
You have three adults living at home?
No, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
No, no, no. I was just going to support what you're saying. So the state with the fewest kids living at home is North Dakota at 12%, and the state with the highest, I think it's either Connecticut or New Jersey at 41%. New Jersey at 44%.
Yeah. As you and I are bad people to say, "Hey, what do you think? What do you think?" Because we read this news every day. Let's get McKenna's thoughts. What are your thoughts? Because we see the stats on every housing or mortgage website we go on every week. But McKenna, are you surprised that any of the one in three young adults live at home?
I'm not really surprised by that at all. I feel like because it's pretty common in a lot of other countries for young adults to stay at home for much longer than they do in the US, and I feel like the US is kind of starting to catch up to those. So it's really not shocking to me at all. I mean, it makes sense if
Yeah.
you can
And
live at
of those
home.
one of
Yeah, you
right
go
of
ahead.
those one of three. Ron, what is the average age of them moving out? Isn't it in the high 20s, 28,
Yeah,
29?
it didn't say in the article, David, but I will tell you that that age is going up.
Mm-hmm. So how does that affect our industry?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Let me just throw out one other piece of data here from the article that in 1960, roughly 25% of adults lived home, right? So we've gone from 25% to 33%. So, and that's 65 years. That's significant. And what that means is we're just seeing delayed household formations. And the reason why that's so important is because we have all these made up models on how much housing shortage we have, but it's based on a certain rate of housing formations. And if those housing formations are slowing down, then our models are completely inaccurate. And I think that's the most important part to pay attention to, as well as when you look at those, those bar charts that say, when people come into prime home buying or household formation age, and so we expect a certain volume push, like we were expecting, the last 5 years, it didn't really happen the way we expected. It's because it's delayed household formations.
Yeah. Barry Habib was on about that for a couple years. That was one of his big talking points, wasn't it?
It was one of his big talking points, but that was based on, like I said, the models we had at the time. Like, okay, kids start to create their own housing formations at age 33, and then that has been delayed. As we know, first time home buyers now are older.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
looks like we lost him again.
Is this number three for I think this is
I
number
I
three for
I
Ron.
think this is
Um,
number 3. Well, I did look it up, and the average age for US adults to move out of their parents' home is between 24 and 27 years old.
yeah, all the stats that I see these days, it would favor on the high side of that number, 27, 28.
Mhm.
Yeah. But there's
But
no shock here with California. It looks like New York, all a, a few handful, most of the Northeast.
yeah.
I'm kind of surprised to see Florida where it's at. I wonder what the reasoning Florida. What is that? Is that 37% on Florida?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
That's surprising to see that. Why do we think it's as high as it is in Florida? Is it
because there's
is
a
it
lot of
cost of?
unaffordable
I know
areas.
cost of living is going up. There's what?
It's an affordability issue in Florida.
Mm.
It's not
Yeah,
only the cost of
and
houses, but
and
it's the
that
cost of
only.
rent.
Because Florida's been a state for a while, but it's been the last since COVID, since 2020 2021, where Florida significantly started to go up.
Yeah, but David, it's just not just the cost of houses; it's the cost of insurance. The cost of HOA. It's the overall
Mm,
housing cost is growing much faster than other places in the country.
right. Yeah, yeah. Do we have one more slide on this one?
I think
We
we can skip it.
do.
We did it. We got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Ron, we've lost you 3 times now. We'll see. We'll probably lose you one more time before we get through the rest of them. But we've got 3 rapid fire topics. Maybe.
Four,
Oh, we've got
four. We're
four
gonna go
actually.
fast.
4.
Yeah, let's go.
This This first one, I think you and I are going to have way different perspectives on because you are an email machine. And from what I've seen, a bit, I don't want to see OCD, but for lack of better term, my inbox is a shit show. But go for it.
Let's go to the next slide because that'll easy get to the crux of the matter. So here's the snack fact of the day from Sherwood News. 23% of Americans have no unread emails in their inbox. I'm part of that 23%. Yet 6% have over 10,000. So, David, which side do you fall on?
I've got both my company email and my personal Gmail right here in front of me. I think that's actually total. Where's I'm not sure if I can read how many unread I have. You want to know how many emails I have? I don't know if it's unread or just total, but in my personal email, 29,000.
If you go into your inbox, it will say how many are unread right next to it.
Let me open that. Yeah. Yeah. That number was unread. 29,000.
I have 43, only because those have probably come in since we've been on the show.
So I've got three emails. I've got the very first email that I got, which was back in 99 or 2000. That's my Hotmail account. I have no idea. If I'm signing up for something, I know I'm going to get spam, then I'll give them my Hotmail address. I never go there. I only have it simply to sign up for crap. And then my Gmail, I started my personal Gmail. I don't know, back in 2004, five, something like that. And it's kind of become that as well, to where I just get so many just junk emails. But my business email, I've actually got 5,000 unread in there.
Holy smokes! And have you and McKenna? Before we move on to the next question, how about you?
I have 266 unread emails, and that was because only about a few weeks ago I went out and I cleared both business and personal emails, which took about an hour and a half to 2 hours.
What's your typical volume of daily emails, so for perspective?
You know what? That's none of my business. I don't look.
You don't know, you know
I,
how many
I look
emails you do.
I look at business emails, and that's the only thing that concerns me. It's none of my business how many emails I get on my personal email.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. So, would you, Dave? Would you consider using, any of these email technologies to help you manage your email?
You've told me about some of them. I choked on my water there, by the way. You've told me about a handful of them, and yes, I would. I need to. Um, the idea of having under 100 unread emails is just crazy to me. I don't think that'll ever happen.
You know what? For me, I would, and I've been playing around trying to help Belinda with her email with using some new email technology. But what I don't want is email to respond for me.
Yeah.
It can play traffic cop. It can unsubscribe from spam. It can do all that, but I don't want an email to respond to me. And I know they're selling, seeing boxes selling that. Gemini sells it, but that's not something I want. That's not the feature I'm clamoring for.
Have you ever, I know you've had personal or executive assistants in the past. Have you ever handed over the reins of your email to an assistant?
100%, 100%. Jenna Greenberg for 12 years took care of my email every day,
I was
and so
I was gonna say Jenna's name, but I wasn't sure if you wanted that out. But I've done the same. I've after significant trust is built, then I've handed over the keys of my email to an assistant, but you feel different about it with it being AI.
yeah, David, with Jenna. So you know, at the time, I might get 1,000 emails a day or something like that, and what I'd do when I was driving around, I'd call Jenna and I'd go, "Hey, Jenna, can you pull my emails?" And we would go through every email. And so I'd say, "Hey, delete, respond. Here's what you got to say." I'd dictate the response. And after we did that, 100,000 times, she really started to understand my voice. I assume it'd be the same thing if you use AI technology. You still have to train it the same way to understand your voice and how to prioritize and what you need to see and what not to see. I guess at some point we'll have to get out of being old men and start to use new technologies.
Yeah. So you think you might eventually one day, after much training, like you had with Jenna, you might actually have AI respond for you?
I'm not going to say never. Just today, it's not what I would do. Now, one last thing I tell you, David, I treat my email like you treat your text, and I treat my text like you treat your email.
Yeah. You I can't imagine just kind of checking in, or I can because I do it with you now because you're more responsive with email than you are with text. But if it's just a quick thing that you need to know, or should know, or a quick question you have, or a quick answer you're giving, I'm 100% text. But yeah, there's a lot of emails that you send me. I was like, why didn't you just text that?
I know, like you sent text, like, Ron, we're supposed to be on a call a half hour ago. I'm like, gosh, darn it! Quit sending me text. All
Yeah.
right, what do we got
All right,
next?
let's move on to our next rapid fire. This is kind of similar in where we're going. Would you work for an AI boss?
This is really interesting. And so I think, do we have a stat here, if I remember right?
We got one.
Yeah. So 80% of Americans don't want AI assigning their tasks or schedules. 70% believe AI will reduce job opportunities. They're concerned that job loss is rising year over year. And 51% said AI is developing faster than they expected. Here's what's interesting. So you think the answer is no, people don't want AI as a boss. But it's almost gets to a different conclusion, and the conclusion is people don't like middle managers. And so if you can have AI start to do perfunctory tools like approve time cards, approve express reports, like this perfunctory stuff, if that gets rid of that stupid middleman, they'd rather not have the middleman and have AI do that. So it really depends on how you couch the question. Like, do you want to report to a machine? No. Would you like having a machine replace many of the useless things your boss does? 100%, right? And it's called the mass flattening of our corporate society. It's a mass flattening going on, and AI is helping that, and people are completely embrace it when you put it that way.
I would think the number would be lower because you hear of just horror stories of just bad bosses and bosses with attitudes or egos or just a bad boss in general doesn't know how to manage people. So I get the hesitation, but I bet you that number is going to come down over time as AI gets better. But some people might just appreciate the relationship as well. So if your boss is an AI agent, there's zero relationship, which can lead to just complacency or lack of drive, lack of motivation, and so on. So it's going to be interesting to see what that number does in the future.
Yeah, I think where employee needs nurturing and mentoring, they're going to be slow to adopt AI for that. Where it's just perfunctory, okay, let the machine do it. I think is the delineation.
Yep,
All right, I think
agreed.
we're good there.
We are next up, third, uh, realtor.com. Go for it.
Yeah, so Realtor.com is entering the whole AI arms race. They're trying to get pre-need to the consumer. They built out their own ecosystem on a ChatGPT platform. The quote here is what's illustrative, what I found most interesting in this whole thing. Um, McKenna, if we can go to it. Yeah. So what I think it was it's the chief consumer and marketing officer for Realtor.com said we built Realtor.com app and ChatGPT to capture what we call the pre-search phase, a window where curiosity turns into a plan, where someone is calculating affordability or weighing the pros and cons of different neighborhoods. We want to be their first point of contact. And by the way, they also want to be their last point of contact. It goes back from thought to final payment. It's the whole spectrum, which is amazing. And what they said in this article, they said what we really want to do is we want to meet people where they're at. And here's what we're learning. And here's what I'm learning just myself with AI. I am
Who is?
That's a very flattering place to freeze.
Yeah.
Oh
Um,
boy.
I'm interested when he comes back to ask him. It seems like every real estate website slash company is moving in this direction, and is there going to be one winner, or is it just going to be every realtor.com, Redfin, I know Zillow's different, but Zillow, they're all going to have their integrations with whether it's ChatGPT or someone else. And is it a race to the bottom? um
Yeah,
but
I think that's a good way of putting it, a race to the bottom. I feel like it's all going to end up being everybody has the same subpar product that's going to be coming out.
yeah, I don't know if I'd say subpar, but it's gonna It's just going to be the new normal. Run, you're back. We were, as you froze, I was just saying, it's realtor.com. We see what their goal is here, but Redfin's doing the same, Zillow's doing the same. They're all doing the same. Is it just going to, in a year from now, 3 years from now, is it just going to be all the same players with the exact same AI functionality? Is it a race to the bottom? Is it that's where I went as you lost connection.
Dave, the race isn't the race to AI. It's the race is to how to build value on top of the AI tools that your clients are already going to get. Like, why would you come through my portal to get my information versus going straight to ChatGPT? What value add did I build on top of that that will attract you? That's the race, right? Because the AI is coming, whether I'm going to harness it or not. Just can I benefit from it as a professional?
Do you think they're all going to look the same though 3 years from now? And obviously the little guys in the room probably not, but all the top dogs, Realtor.com and every other company that's of equal significance, or is it just going to look the exact same 2 years from now?
I think the information is going to be the same, but the user experience will be different, and that will be the differentiator.
Gotcha.
And that is going to be the differentiator in the
All right.
world. With super intelligence, everybody has access to the intelligence. It's what kind of UI do you put on top of that to, embrace and put your arms around your clients.
Right. Yeah. I saw a clip of Elon Musk saying he thinks we're going to reach super intelligence by the end of this year.
I would not be surprised.
I'm almost kind of surprised we're not already there.
Well, Sam
Okay,
Altman
you
was
want
already
to?
there.
What's that?
No, I think I'm here.
What'd you say, Ron?
Barely here. I'm clinging on. Let's keep going
Yeah.
before I freeze out. I
All
said,
right, McKenna.
let's keep
Last
going
one.
before I
Perplexity
freeze.
is all right. Perplexity and taxes.
This is just topical. Perplexity is putting a huge push. They can be your CPA. Really interesting on this because the part that was the most interesting, they said, I think we have a screenshot. It's pretty interesting, the things that they can do to figure out your taxes for you. But you know what was interesting? What they really positioned themselves on, which shocked me, they're like, okay, we can help you prep it. You can prep the package for your CPA. You can send it to your CPA, and then we can check their work. And then in the box which you already showed, it lists the 4 top mistakes CPAs do in calculating taxes, which it seems kind of odd. Normally we'd use an AI tool and then send it to the professional to validate, where but Perplexity is saying no, send it to your professional, then I'll validate, which is a really interesting perspective.
Wow. Right. And this screenshot, that's from it's tough to see, but that's within Perplexity.
That's Perplexity working through somebody's tax forms, and it just shows you the whiteboard that it puts it on to calculate it. And by the way, this article came from Perplexity. They have a multi-page workbook on how to leverage Perplexity for your taxes and how to use the different phases of your taxes. Either in the prep phase or the actual generation or the audit phase. It was pretty interesting. And then how many what resources they use to train the model. It was very interesting.
Yeah. I just did McKenna's taxes for her. She's used H&R Block the last handful of years, so that's what I had to use. I wonder how much, and obviously, form generation and completion has been around since before AI, right? I'm wondering how much AI was built into their platform and other platforms like it, like TurboTax and H&R Block. How much of that is leaning on AI versus just basic math and
Yeah,
autocomplete, autofill, and so on.
yeah. I don't think there's a lot of AI. There's probably a growing amount of AI, but it's just rules based computation. It's AI is when you're actually
Right,
trying to have novel thoughts, not 1 + 1 = 2. And so I think
right.
it's this basic RPA computation type of stuff. But I will tell you though, David, I built a AI agent to prep my taxes, and it was amazing
Hmm.
what it could do.
And you just did that this year?
Yeah,
And did you
yeah,
complete it already?
yeah. No, much to the chagrin of my CPA, who got a lengthy email from my from Gemini.
He's
um,
like, "Oh boy, my job's in jeopardy now."
Yeah, but when you get your credit card statement at the end of the year and it kind of breaks down your expenses, and buckets it, that's AI because it's guessing what line A goes to. Like that's the AI part of it. And the thing that's great is now with AI tools like ChatGPT, you can take a PDF and convert it to a sortable, a spreadsheet in like 20 seconds. And so you can just like you
Mm.
can dump all your bank statements, all your credit card statements, give it rules on how to calculate different expenses, and then it can generate the spreadsheet in just seconds. It's unbelievable.
Say, McKenna, next year, instead of me doing your taxes, you're going to use Perplexity to do your own taxes.
Nope.
I love tax. I
You
love doing
hater.
taxes. You hater. All
All
right,
right,
we got one tech tip.
let's move on. Let's move on to our final roll the bumper, McKenna AI tip of the week.
All right, this is I'm sure McKenna's bringing it up. This is, David, we talk about this, and I like doing tech tips because we're all learning how to use tech and how to maximize it. So I think it's super important. But we all kind of fall victims to the same, pothole in our AI experience. And that is where we just get AI to agree with us all the time and tell us how great we are. And that we just enjoy hearing that so much that we actually don't get good feedback from the AI tool. And so with this AI prompt tip we have today is how to break, that sycophantic behavior by creating a devil's advocate to get you much better results. And McKenna, I think we have the rules on the next screen. Yeah, and so this is a prompt you would put in there. I'm gonna share a decision or an idea or a draft. Your job is to be my devil's advocate. Here's the rules you need to follow. Do not validate my idea first. Skip the compliments entirely. List the three strongest arguments against what I'm proposing. Identify the assumptions I most likely got wrong. Tell me what someone who disagrees with me would say and why they might be right. And then lastly, only after doing all of that, tell me what's genuinely strong about it. And this is great, David, because I always think when people are trying to craft arguments with AI, start by what your opponent would think. Like, go ahead and what does my opponent think? What does the person who opposes me think? Argue their point of view, and then tell me how I'm wrong. And that's a really good way to start your reasoning process.
Yeah, I have told chat several times one or many of these bullet points on there to skip complimenting and get to the point and argue with me, but it seems like it just falls back into its same behavior. Is there a way to put this in the global settings to where it
Yeah,
it remembers that? Because it seems like I tell it this every 3 months. I'm like, stop.
that same personalization screen, David, where you put the quit using M dashes, you would put it there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gotcha. Have you done that?
For this, no. You know what? You know, David, where it really is a problem, where it's just insufferable, where chat just wants to compliment the heck out of you, is when you go voice to voice. So when you're on your phone and you're speaking to it and it's auto, responding to you in audio, it is so effusive. It's unbelievable, and it wastes a ton of compute. Like, quit telling me how great I am and how I'm just about to change the world. Like just let's get down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah. I don't use the voice to voice chat as often as you do. I would say maybe it represents 5% or 10% of my usage of it. Now I do use voice to text, but not voice to voice where it's, communicating back with me in a voice. I don't do that very often. So I haven't seen, I don't use it enough to know. But you use that a lot, don't you?
Whenever you're driving, it's great. When I'm out on a walk, because you can log into it and go, hey, chat, I gotta prepare for a meeting tomorrow morning. Here's who's in attendance. Here's kind of my topics. Can you and brainstorm with my topics? Now, can you go ahead and create an outline for my PowerPoint? It will create the outline. You can have it send to your presentation tool. You can literally in like 10 minutes do a complete sales meeting, have it done on your drive to the office.
Right. Alrighty. Well, I think that's a wrap for this week. Yeah.
Yeah, wrap. We only fell off 7 times. Thank you, everybody, for patience, for sticking out. I did notice, David, that every time I fell off, the audience went up.
Huh. What do you know? So looks like me and McKenna are the main co-hosts next week, and Ron will be producing, pushing all the buttons.
Sorry, Ron, you're getting
No,
demoted.
you're getting demoted or promoted.
Oh, we couldn't have ended on a we couldn't have ended more perfectly. All right, McKenna, cheers. Happy Friday.
Cheers.
All right, see you next week. Thanks for joining.
See ya.